I am a seasoned brand marketer who has over 15 years of experience within beverage alcohol. I haven't worked for a number of different companies. I've just worked for three major companies. A distributor called Glazier's out of Texas, E&J Gallo Winery out of Modesto, California, and lastly, Constellation. And so what you see as far as a career type of career professional is that I really did start from, I've made a couple of transitions, transitioning from sales into marketing and now marketing into telecommunications. That journey has led me to various positions where I didn't spend more than, I would say, 3 years at max in each one of my roles. So I continuously was hungry for growth and expressed that need throughout my career. And I think that's what kept my career sort of going. But look, after 15 years of doing everything that I want to do, I'm done. I needed something new. I needed a new challenge. And I think that's whenever I started to see where my personal life needed to change as well. Living in San Francisco, we want a home, we want to sort of grow a family, and that just can't happen. I'm getting older. And sometimes when you have such deep experience into one area or one industry, you can feel like you're stuck. You can feel like, how the heck do I get out of this? It's hard. It feels daunting. And you don't even really know who you are outside of some of these companies because you only know yourself in the context of these companies. I realized that there was a lot of work, personal work that I needed to do. So I actually hired a coach named Matt Plummer. I knew that I needed to leave a company, but I knew that I couldn't do it on my own. So my first session with him, it was a matter of determine when do you want to leave your current situation. And I had planned to resign in September. And I hired him to help keep me accountable to that because it's hard to just make that decision. Look, we met a couple of times. I realized that I wanted to leave sooner than that. And I left in July. I put in my resignation. It was time. And at that point, I was like, look, I went ahead and made the decision. You got me where I needed to go. I'm quick to be coached, and I just did it. What next? And he says, well, I recommend you, since you're going into this new phase, I recommend that you speak to a couple of folks that I know, the Nashes, Nicole and Ron Nash. And so I was like, okay, I trust your judgment. He gave me the recommendation. He connected me with you and Nicole. And then that's when I got introduced to Get Hired Now. And the objective of Get Hired Now was to really, in the beginning was like kind of a, oh no moment of, I don't have a job. What am I going to do? I had personal savings, which set me up to be okay. There was no time constraint for me, which was good. However, I knew that I needed to somehow get a job. And so I looked at the programs with Get Hired Now. I think I had a session with you, Ron. I had a session with Nicole. And I think a couple of things. One is that your extensive LinkedIn network is pretty powerful. It shows that you clearly know how to use LinkedIn in a way that I don't know how to use LinkedIn. I barely have 500 connections. I think you have like 3,000 or something. So clearly you know a little bit about LinkedIn that I don't know.
that would be 30,000.
Oh, sorry, 30. Okay. Yeah, I left off a few zeros. You have 30,000. So clearly this guy knows something about LinkedIn that I have no idea. There's also just that introspective part, right? Coming out of a job, there's some baggage. You've got feelings about an old boss. You've got things that prevent you from being able to move yourself forward emotionally. You have beliefs about yourself. You have beliefs that others may have on you that are not true, may be true, who knows? But you got to work through all this stuff to free yourself and to really get clarity as to what it is that you want. So in my situation, we wanted to relocate to Seattle. That was kind of one stake in the ground. The other is that I wanted a job that the culture was not good. It wasn't a value-driven culture. In the context of Black Lives Matter and what's happening in my own passions, I wanted a company that was very value first, and I deserved that. So that was a whole different approach to job search than I had thought. And I think that I had to get really clear on the objective. So coming into the system, I think something else I realized is that there are other people in the system. It was like the first time that I was in a call, the Get Hired Now networking call that was designed to network myself with the Get Hired Now community. It was just such a relief to see that I'm not alone and that other people are in this as well. And that was very refreshing and encouraging. Through that, I got to meet other members one-on-one. They reached out to me. Some of them I reached out to, and we connected one-on-one. And then some of them we even connected in sort of these small little groups. So understanding getting to know the network and the alumni and the people within Get Higher Now is really important. So the first part of this whole process was really working specifically with Coach Nicole and starting to directly with her and starting to unlock the mental space. I think that I had some self-doubt and negative beliefs about myself that just were not true. I had to work through those. And I think the key is I had to work through them and not get hired now. I think that there's an expectation sometimes that you pay a coaching agency to do work for you. And that's not how it happens. If you don't put the work in it and unlock your own sort of aha moments, then you're not going to win. You have to do the work. And so a part of that was really doing the work, exactly what that, doing the work with Byron Katie and working out a worksheet on my own of just what are those limiting beliefs. If those beliefs were not true, what would make it even truer and even truer than that? Flipping things around and thinking of them backwards in how I was thinking. And what that does is it unlocks new ideas and new potentials about myself that I didn't even realize. And so that was refreshing because I realized that I wasn't limited, right? I do have a lot to offer and I have a lot of value to put onto the table. And then starting to look at value, one thing that Coach Ron does is helps you identify your unique value proposition. And your unique value proposition, when you start to develop that, I think is the first stage in which you start to really start packaging up your value and then start seeing how you're going to present that value forward. And the whole time that I'm doing this, I'm practicing. I'm trying to get myself interviews. I'm trying to get myself conversations. So I'm trying to practicing and I'm working through this new value proposition. It doesn't come naturally if you don't have one. It sounds weird. It sounds like you're being haughty or talking too much about yourself. But it is what you need to break through because it's what employees are looking for. People are looking for people with confidence and the ability to lead. And so understanding that value proposition, getting it down on paper, practicing it in interviews, I think was really important. And then one of the last pieces is the resume writing. What I love about how the program Get Hired Now works is that you don't just start off with the resume writing. You've got to have done some of that work ahead of time before you get to that. The resume writing is like one of the last things. But once you have that, then you can really start to project yourself. It really sharpens your value proposition and you can then project yourself even more clearly and more strongly to executives that will be looking to hire. And so, shortly after that, I got the resume, I've got the cover letter. And then it was a matter of, targeting the companies that I wanted to get. There are a few roles I started to apply for. Lo and behold, using the LinkedIn networking tools and some of the templates that I did then made my own, I started doing mock interviews. And the mock interview process was really helpful. As I started to go through that, Coach Rita really helped sharpen my interview skills and gave me some really good nuggets on how to just make myself different from other candidates. And then from that, you just feel so charged. I felt like I could take over the world at that point, And I started reaching out directly to executives at companies that I had targeted from a value-first approach to targeting companies. So it was T-Mobile, it was Microsoft, it was Amazon. I think that before the program, I would never have been so emboldened to just reach out directly to CMOs and CEOs and CFOs. And during this whole time, not everyone is wanting to talk to me, but at least 50% of them accepted my invitation to join my network on LinkedIn. Now my network is a powerful network. I can tell that it is because the algorithms have changed as to who LinkedIn proposes to me. Now, most of the people that I get as, connection recommendations are all C-suite founders. It's shifted because I have nothing but CFOs, CEOs, CMOs of really top companies. I now feel like even after, no matter what happens from here, my LinkedIn network is stronger and that I can always reach out to people and at least start an initial conversation, which makes you, it's very empowering. It diminishes fear, which is awesome. So that worked for me. I actually reached out to the CMO and several directors of T-Mobile, and the CMO responded. I just basically sent him an elevator pitch using some of the templated LinkedIn recommendations. I changed it, made it my own, and attached my resume and sent it to him. Next thing you know, I get a request from some VP who said, "Hey, I just got your information from a CMO. Would love to get you in front of the hiring manager for this job." A few days later, met the hiring manager, and 8 interviews later, I got hired. And I would say that, number one, the reason I got hired was not because of the CMO, first of all. The recruiting manager was very clear and said, look, if you didn't have the chops, if you didn't have what we were looking for, you wouldn't have gotten this far with or without the CMO. However, I do think the CMO definitely helped. It helped spotlight me in the beginning. And she admitted that. And she just said, look, it helped spotlight you, helped you get noticed, but you arrived every single time and everyone was impressed. So yeah, I think that, there's that piece. And then there's the preparedness, the enthusiasm that I had that really kind of sealed the deal with T-Mobile. And I'm excited. I'm pumped. I've already had my first conversations with my hiring manager. And what's nice is because of how I presented myself, I'm already at a level of expectation that's making the interaction so easy. They're looking for me to solve, a lot of challenging problems and around privacy, et cetera. And it's exciting to just already be at the groundwork of where I want to be and being treated that way. It's great. So I think now the lesson is going to be how do I continue, now that I know that I'm so open to coaching and I'm so receptive to coaching, how do I continue to leverage coaching to extend and get me into higher levels of leadership within wherever my career goes. So